So this is not going to be a magic video. In fact, it's highly likely that this entire video series won't have any magic in it at all. Okay, maybe one quick trick. There you go. Again? Okay. Right, now that's out of the way, what are we doing here? Well, I've been thinking for some time now that I need a hobby of sorts, something to do with my spare time when I'm not doing magic, and something that I can really engage my brain with. So I've given it a bit of thought and I've come to a decision about what I want to do. Now, I've always had a love of, I guess you could call it, kinetic art, and a very particular type of kinetic art, that being a rolling ball sculpture. You watch a marble roll from the top of a machine to the bottom and then back up to the top again, and it's really quite fascinating. Now, over the last few years, I've had a few sort of off-the-shelf bought wooden kits that are all pre-cut and pre-made and predetermined, but they haven't really scratched the itch for that because there hasn't been any design process for me. There's been no decision for me to make. It's just going to be what it's going to be. And I thought I want something where I've had a bit more freedom. I've made a few of those. I've enjoyed making them. I've enjoyed watching them roll, and then I've enjoyed giving them to other people who've then also enjoyed them. But they've never really had the kind of atmosphere and grandeur and all that sort of thing that I wanted. I wanted something that was going to be a bit more me, something that I can build. So I'm going to build my own kinetic art rolling ball sculpture machine thing. Now, I'm going to commit every part of this process, from the thinking about it, the designing it, the concept, the building, all to video. And I've already made some decisions before I've gotten to this stage, but I've not built anything yet. So it's currently the beginning of July in 2026. And I've honestly got no idea how I'm going to do it, which honestly makes it rather exciting. And I wanted to start this video series off with that, the very frank and open and honest discussion about the fact that I genuinely don't know what I'm doing, but I've got an idea in my head. I've got a vision of sorts of the kind of thing that I want. So this is going to be a video series that will have who knows how many episodes, covering who knows how many topics over, honestly, who knows how many months. But I'm going to strive to get to the end of this and to have a completed item, something which is done, which is finished, which has all the things in it that I want in it, that looks the way that I want it to look and looks brilliant. So there we go. Welcome to video 1 of me building a rolling ball sculpture. Actually, as I think about it, that is probably not the best title. I also want something that's going to sound like what it is. So that just won't do. How about I've got it. Welcome to Observations in Brass. Oh, I like that. No, wait, hang on. No, that's still not quite right. There's no information there. There's no flavour. There's no atmosphere. I want the title of this video series to be clear about what it is, because it's not just about me building a thing. It's more than that. Okay, how about Observations in Brass, the building of rolling ball sculpture number 1, probably of one, by Liam Ball, the Gentleman Magician. Oh yes, I like that. Oh, very good. Hang on. No, I'm still not 100% sold. I think there's probably more to it than that even. Okay, here we are. Observations in Brass, the conception, design, construction of rolling ball sculpture number 1 by Liam Ball, the gentleman magician. Yeah. Listen, this is annoying for you as it is for me. I think this is going to take some time though, and I mean probably months and months, maybe even a year or so. And I actually don't know what I'm doing. So it's as much of an experiment really as it is a plan. And it's a bit of a video diary of that process. Okay, I like what I had, but I think this is going to be better. Observations in Brass, being the recorded observations made by a hopeful author and aspiring inventor during the conception, design, construction, and it is sincerely hoped, the eventual completion of rolling ball sculpture number 1 by Liam Ball, the gentleman magician. Actually, you know, something that really does occur to me is there's a huge misconception about what these things actually are, what they're called. I'm very much building a rolling ball sculpture. You might call it a marble run. Some people even call it a marble roller coaster. It's not one of those things. It's a sculpture. It's going to be kinetic art, even though I don't really know what I'm doing. But that's what I'm going for. I want it to be refined. I want it to look beautiful. I want it to feel intentional and purposeful and engineered and precise. I think a title should reflect that. Okay, I've got it. Observations in Brass, being the recorded observations made by a hopeful author and aspiring inventor during the conception, design, construction, and it is sincerely hoped, the eventual completion of a rolling ball sculpture, commonly and quite incorrectly referred to as a marble roller coaster, by Liam Ball, the gentleman magician. That doesn't feel finished. I'm missing something. I think, of course, this sculpture, this thing that I'm aiming at, I think it needs a title, a name, a conceptualized idea of what it is that I'm aiming at. Do you know what? I think I've got it. Observations in Brass, being the recorded observations made by a hopeful author and aspiring inventor during the conception, design, construction, and it is sincerely hoped, the eventual completion of a rolling ball sculpture, commonly and quite incorrectly referred to by some as a marble roller coaster, hereafter to be known, upon its much anticipated eventual completion, as the Perpetual Curiosity Engine No. 1 by Liam Ball, the gentleman magician. Yes, that'll do nicely. Let's get on with it. Okay, I've come inside out of the heat. It's way too hot out there. So what is this conceptualized idea that I've got? So I know that I want to do several things. I want to build a rolling ball sculpture. I want it to be made from brass and I want it to look a bit Victorian. So I'm going to build a brass frame, something for it to go on, something that's going to be substantial but not overbearing. And it's going to be sitting on an absolutely gorgeous piece of wood, a timber base. I want it to be electrically operated, so there won't be any hand crank, there's going to be no batteries, it's going to plug into the mains, there'll be an on-off switch, and that will power a mechanism which gets the balls from the bottom to the top of the machine to work automatically, then it can run independently. I also want for it to have a very classical rolling ball sculpture lifting mechanism. So for that, I'm going to make a helical lift. almost like an Archimedes screw style lifting mechanism that's going to sit in the back left hand side of the sculpture. And I'm also going to allow the track of the downward section of the sculpture to exceed and extend outside of the frame. Not massively, but it won't be confined in a box. So I want it to be something which flows and grows authentically and naturally as it goes along. Okay, so piece number one of the whole puzzle, I think, has to be the base. Now, I knew that because I'm building a brass sculpture on top of it, that I wanted the base to be a beautiful piece of timber, a beautiful piece of wood. And I've come across this. This is mahogany. It's absolutely gorgeous. It didn't come like this. This has actually come from a really old table, a proper heirloom, very old table, which was broken and falling apart. And it was all being chopped up and used for various other projects. This was actually given to me by my good friend Scott Penrose, who had the piece in his workshop. He chopped this up, he sanded the top off for me, and then I've actually been coating this in Danish oil. So far it's had about a dozen coats. It's probably going to have another 5, 6, 7, 8 more, and then it'll get waxed after a couple of days of drying. It's going to be an absolutely beautiful base. This is approximately 35 by 45 centimeters in size, so I think that's good. And then the frame on top of it is going to rise to approximately 60 centimeters or 600 millimeters. So I think that's going to look like an absolutely fabulous base for this project. Now, in addition to the base, I was just over in Scott's workshop earlier on, and he's just given me 4 of these. These are going to be feet on the base. I've got 4 of these. These are absolutely gorgeous. They're really solid, heavy brass, and this is what the whole thing is going to sit on. And I just want you to contemplate for a second. This is going to sit under the corner here. I'm going to have 4 of these, one on every corner, and this is what everything is going to sit on top of before I then build the frame on top of this. So that's going to look absolutely fabulous. I'm really excited about that. But before I do anything else now, I need some metal for the frame. Okay, the frame. I knew I wanted something which was going to sit on the base, the mahogany baseboard that I have, and look absolutely stunning. I really want that Victorian charm, the feel of Victorian style engineering when I'm building the sculpture, and I need to start that right from day one. So the frame of the Perpetual Curiosity Engine, as it shall now be known, is going to be made from this. This is 12mm box section of brass. It's really sturdy, it's pretty heavy, and I'm going to make a frame which sits maybe 20 or 30 millimeters inside the confines of the board, because of course the tracks will be able to extend outside of that, and it's going to sit maybe 550 to 600 millimeters in height, which is the height of the machine that I want to build. So this is what I've got. I'm going to take this over to see a very good friend of mine who's going to help me to chop it all up and essentially get it ready to be soldered together to turn into an absolutely beautiful piece of brass framework. So before I just jumped in and started cutting up what actually is pretty expensive metal, I decided I was going to put my thinking cap on and have a real good think about how I want this frame to look. I don't just want to start throwing ideas at the wall and not having a plan to begin with. I know I need it to do several things. It needs to be a frame, it needs to be sturdy, it needs to be elegant, it needs to be able to cope with the weight of the brass and the movement of the balls as they roll down the sculpture, as well as housing the bearings and the mechanism for the lift to lift the balls up the sculpture. But I also want it to look beautiful, I want it to look nice, and I want to have various stages in it that I can use to mount supports on as I build the rails. So I actually use Fusion 360 for a lot of my 3D design processes, so I went into Fusion 360 and I built this, which actually I'm pretty happy with. Now, I did make a few decisions. The first was that the back part of the frame was going to be the tallest. Also, the two arms that come away from the back of the frame to the front of the frame would be set a little bit lower, and there'll be some crossbars at the base and also one at the back. It's going to give me some high level, some mid level and some low level anchor points to build frame supports into. And if I need more later, I can always build maybe a smaller internal frame if I think it's going to be necessary. I think I'll have plenty of brass for that. In addition to that, I've also decided where the helical lift, where the Archimedes screw is going to go. So now I can start putting my thinking cap on and designing how the mechanism to actually power that screw and lift the balls from the bottom to the top of the machine is going to run. But more on that in another episode. Let's go to the workshop and get some brass cut. So I'm back from the workshop and I had so much fun while I was there. I took one photograph and one tiny little bit of video. But what I do have is lots of brass sections cut up and packaged into little bundles that are going to help me and allow me to build the frame. Now this is just the frame. You'll notice in the original drawing I also had some plates. I'll be going back to sort those out later. But I'm really excited because now I feel like I've actually started. Let's go and have another quick look at that drawing of the frame and some of the really important things that I've made notes of on there. Now, on this frame, there are three different kinds of joints. The first is there's just a standard corner joint. The second is at the front of the two forward-facing arms. There are two 45-degree corner joints. And lastly, of course, there is the mid-bar frame joint, of which there's actually 4 on the frame. So you'll see in 3 places here what I've done is I've actually designed a covering plate. Now what's going to happen is that the end cut of the bar are all designed to fit to 45 degrees or to 90 degrees as needed. But then on top of that, when I solder all of that together, I'm also going to solder on these brass plates, which I'll make and cut and drill out of this. This is 3mm thick brass plate. It's really chunky stuff. It's not cheap. It's not very expensive for what it is, but it's pretty sturdy. So every joint that is in there is going to have one of these either cut as a corner section or cut at a 45-degree section, or it's going to be cut with a crossbar section, which is going to be soldered in place. It's all going to be drilled out so it has a feeling of Victorian engineering and bridge building, and then we're going to drill through the plate into the frame and actually tap into that with mechanical screws to bolt it all together. So this will be absolutely rock solid sturdy. Okay, so I'm going to cut this video here because I think so far I've already covered so much foundational stuff. We've got the base for the machine, we know what it's going to be built out of, we know what style it's going to be, we understand why. And honestly, I picked brass because brass and mahogany are going to look fabulous together, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. I've got all the frame pieces cut. I now need to get the gussets made, and then it's time to build a frame to turn this into a started actual physical project. Also, for the last 3 or 4 days, I've been thinking about so many different parts of it, thinking about the helix, the electronics, how it's all going to work, and I've been watching so many online videos. It's fantastic. So I'm really excited to get started. In the next episode, I'm going to get those gussets made, and then I'm going to actually get this frame built. So by the end of episode 2, I'll have a working frame sitting on a beautiful mahogany baseboard, ready to be turned into a rolling ball sculpture. If you're as excited about that as I am, hit the subscribe button and let's go on this wonderful journey together. See you next time.